Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Aspiring Adult podcast. My name is Alexandra Hayek, and I'm your host. Today we have Lauren, who we're on a roll here with people that I've met through Mateo. Um, last one was Faith, and now it's you. Anyways, I met her through my brother. But she's studying at the University of Texas. You're majoring in finance,
Oh
correct?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, Lauren, can you introduce yourself?
Hey guys, I'm Lauren Stanfield. If you watched the podcast from last time, that was my best friend Faith. So we all have like little connections with Mateo and Alex. It's very fun. I'm from Lubbock, Texas. I've This is gonna be my fourth year living in Austin though. So my senior year at UT within the finance school that she was talking about. Yeah, I grew up playing tennis my whole life. I grew up always in academia, doing like very academic focus centered. I mean, if you couldn't tell by the UT of it all. But yeah, a lot of things have changed since college, and it's very cool to hear these different stories about aspiring adults and getting into that realm of adulthood. It's scary, but it's exciting. And I'm excited to talk about it with you guys.
Yeah. So, my first question for you is why did you pick going into finance? Like, did you know going into UT, okay, like what you wanted to major in? Did you not know? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so to be honest, I live a very expensive lifestyle for a college student. I wanted something pretty versatile. I've always wanted to put myself in the position to succeed, no matter where my dreams or my wishes turn, like along the way. When you're applying for these colleges and applying for these universities and these specific colleges like Macombs, the School of Business, whatever, you're making these huge life decisions at like 17 or 18, and nobody really knows what they're going to do at 17 or 18. So I wanted something where I could kind of formulate my own path within it, but it's giving me the basis and giving me the tools that I need to kind of choose what I want to do within that realm.
Yeah. That's so true. And like, that's so smart because also finance, like, it's gonna play a part in any industry that you pick, you know? Like,
Yeah,
it's not something that's too niche, that then, like, you can't quote unquote use for anything else, if that makes sense.
for
Um,
sure.
which is what I did.
No, but I love it. It's exciting though. There are pros and cons to all, girl.
Yeah. No, I will say, like, I
I
like, loved my classes.
think we all have we're all thinking things in the back of our head. We all have you know.
Ed, you're 17 and 16. It's like what, like
Yeah.
17, 18, and it's like obviously, and it's not set in stone, right? Like you can always change your mind. You can always like, but it's like you can't lie to yourself and say it's not easier to like have made the decision that's already going to set you up or like facilitate your life later on, you know?
For
Like
sure.
that's just not something that you're doing at 17 or 18. You're like, how can I make my life more complicated than it is?
Like my frontal lobe is still to this day not even developed, let alone at 17, knowing what I'm supposed to do for the rest of my life. Yeah, kind of insane.
You know, when I learned that the frontal lobe doesn't like fully develop until you're 25, I was like,
25.
you know what? I'm doing really well.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? This makes so much sense. I think I learned that like
Yeah.
2, 3 years ago. I was like, wow. Yeah.
I feel myself reacting to certain situations nowadays, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, maybe it is coming in. Maybe things are changing, girl. Yeah.
I know. I had like sometimes when was it last time that I really went out with my friend Jasmine, who was the first guest on this episode? We like, first of all, we got drunk way too quickly for no, like everything tastes disgusting to us. And then like it was like, no, like let's be responsible and stuff. And we were like, why is our frontal lobe like developing right now? That's not what I need right now. I
Why
don't
do
need
I feel
attention.
it right now? Yeah, I'm serious.
I was
I'm
like,
like,
I
can I
want
turn it off for a little
attention.
bit? Can I
That's
put it on
the
pause?
thing. Like sometimes I want to do like outlandish stuff, and then I'm like, wait, you probably shouldn't do that. And I'm like, "Ugh,
Wait, I'm actually not a
have
teenage
that
girl
thought.
anymore. Yeah. It's
Like,
difficult. It's
get out,
difficult.
like conscious and like morals and ethics, like get out of my head, please.
No, just let me be a girl.
I know,
Yeah.
literally. Um, okay, so kind of how, so I want to go back to my next question, which is
Yeah.
like obviously college is a super like you've said like a lot of things has changed in your life and like it's a super like transformative experience. Like doesn't matter what kind of experience you have, it's always gonna like change you a lot, I think. So what is the thing that has most surprised you about like this stage of your life and being in college and like now almost, getting to the end of it?
So specifically, like imagining myself at this very point in my life right now is never something I really did. I've always kind of gone for like the big picture when I'm thinking about my future. I'm kind of thinking about the end goal and the steps that I need to in order to achieve that, get there, not necessarily like analyzing the process to that extent. Um, So it has surprised me a little bit because there are certain things like I'm like, okay, well, I need by my junior year in college, I need like a kick-ass internship and I need this and I need to have an offer for this and I need this. But I think that the things that have surprised me in that way were the steps that I'm taking to get to those points don't often look like how I would probably have perceived them like back in the day when I'm thinking about myself in college. Like I it's not like, okay, well, everything's according to plan. I mean, obviously that's kind of a given, but things change around, but putting in that work and having that perseverance and having that end goal in mind is still doesn't make you deviate from the fact that you're still making progress towards your future, what you're wanting to see yourself towards in the back. So I've had to kind of make sure deal with learning how to be okay with things not looking exactly how I want them to, because in the grand scheme of things, I'm nearing where I want to be, if that makes sense.
That's awesome. I think a lot of us like, or like I'm speaking for myself, I tend to get caught up in like details and like the little tiny steps
Yeah.
because I guess like I believe a lot in like the butterfly effect. So this one decision is gonna like change the course of my life. Yeah, it could, but it's also really exhausting to
Yeah.
like, think like that and not think of the bigger picture or like not have a set timeline. But with that, I also wanted to ask you like about how you saw yourself, not necessarily like the things that you're doing, but the kind of person that you are. Like, do you think like that's changed a lot or it aligns with what maybe you would have thought like as a little girl was a 22, 21-year-old Lauren, you know?
Yeah. Um, it's right. I think the same things like my morals have stayed the same, my drive has stayed the same, that kind of situation. But I think that when I was younger, a lot of the things that I thought that I would look like when I was older, I wanted to be like my mom is her. She is everything and more. She's so cool. But I always thought I was like, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do things differently, whatever. And I think as I'm getting older in a way, I'm kind of seeing more and more me turning into my mother at this point in my life already. But it's not scary, it's awesome. So learning how to deal with that, it's a little bit different. Like kind of imagining myself as this whole separate person, even though I am like completely a separate entity. Um, I don't know. It's surprising how I wanted to have my own separation within my life at this point in time. But really, I am just a reflection of all the women that raised me. And it is so beautiful because it's like I still have my same I still have my same heart. I'm still Lauren, but it's also the people that have affected me in this way. I never could have thought that I would be the type of woman that I am.
Yeah. I love that you said you're a reflection of like all of the women that have raised you. I think it's so like I totally like agree with the fact that somehow little by little every day I become more like my mom.
Yes.
Like the point where my brother's like, "Okay, Martha," and I'm like,
Oh,
I don't mean to be. But I think that point is really interesting because when you're younger, you're so obsessed with individuality and becoming your own self, and the way that you think that you're gonna do that is by try and distance yourself, right, from your mom or your parents or like people who are raising you. And it's kind of funny because you're obviously never going to get away from that. Um, but yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that kind of drifting away from this hyper individualistic mindset, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's true for you, but
It's definitely true for me. I wanted to be so different. I wanted to do all these things, whatever, but it's instead I feel like these women that I've surrounded myself with in my life, I've picked up on like I love my mom's best friend like helped raise me. She was like my other aunt, my grandma. I like her quality for like witty humor. I like my mom is a very compassionate person, but she's also very realistic. I'm picking out these specific qualities from the people that I look up to in my life and that I'm around in my day to day. And I feel like in a way I can implement that into my own lifestyle. And I mean, I'm still Lauren, I'm still my own person, but I really am. I look at these beautiful aspects of these wonderful women in my life, and I'm trying to, instead of being more of an individual, I like being more of a conglomeration.
yeah, that's yeah, I love that. I think most of us, like whether we realized it or not, like are a collection of a lot of other different people. Like obviously you still have like you, and I think what makes you you is the way that like those parts of other people manifest themselves, if that makes sense, and like how you react to them. Um, but yeah. So, okay. So my next question is obviously, like we said, like you're still in college and you're like kind of about to get into like the transition from college to like working. Like obviously you
Yeah.
still have that 1 year left. But it's obviously a super transitional, transformational period.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask you if there's anything that you're overcoming or that you're looking forward to, um, in this stage of your life.
Yeah. So, within the past 2 months, my best friend in the entire world has moved away, Miss Faith Stokes, that you guys have heard before. That's something I'm currently dealing with because this is my last year. But I've always had friends that are older. I've always had friends that are younger. I just like a pretty, pretty all over the place little friend group situation. Um, but it's something I think I can say that I'm both looking forward to and something I'm also currently overcoming. My best friend being all the way in Iowa now. It's kind of in a way like it is something that I'm overcoming because it is difficult and learning how to deal with that and learning how to preserve those friendships differently when you're not living two steps away from every single person in your life in college. So it's different. But it's something it gives me a lot of hope. Um, Me and Faith, our friendship is so strong. It still is. And like she still knows everything about me. I still know everything about her. And it's like we're busy girls now. She's got a big girl job, she's got a big girl salary, things are different. So we're not necessarily talking every day, but I still have never had any doubt the complexity and validity of our friendship and how still it still means a lot to me and still makes a lot of it has a huge impact on my life and on hers. It's kind of like things have changed, but our relationship as a whole has not. And so it does make me something it does is something I look forward to in that way because that was something that was so scary for me and something that I'd never had to really necessarily deal with before. I mean, moving 6 hours away, but it's different moving away from your family. Um, so yeah, but navigating that and it gives me hope for some of my best friends that are here that when I'm gonna be moving away and it's I think it's awesome to know that you can still have these heart connections um with those people that you love so deeply and it still feels like time hasn't passed by.
Yeah, I
So
definitely agree. I had like, I mean, for me, it was like in high school, I decided to like stay back and stay in Houston, go to school there. And all of my friends, like most of them went to Canada, and then one of them went to like Baylor. Anyways, and so I had to deal with these are people that like I went through a K through 12 school. So it was like people that I had been seeing every single day for like 10 years. So I was like, oh, what the heck do I do now? But I think that, like you said, that you guys don't necessarily talk every day, but your friendship is still as strong as ever. I think a lot of people think that having a good friendship means that you talk to them every day, and that's not necessarily the case. So I guess, I mean, I don't know. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Like, how do you differentiate your friendship with Faith because it's so close to like other friendships that are not as close? And how do you approach them or how are they different? I just wanted to get your take on that.
So I like briefly like mentioned it, but my mom has always had this thing that she said. She calls like her certain group of people, my certain group of people. Everybody has there's if they're lucky, has a group or just one or two or but a group of heart friends. Is what I call them. That's what she's always called it. Like a heart friend is a friendship that you've never had to question in your entire life. You've never had to like, obviously people go through difficulties, people go through miscommunication, that kind of situation, but a heart friend is someone that is not only a big part of your life, but I feel like is a big part of you. Um, in general, and Faith is one of my heart friends. And with those kind of people, to me, I've found that distance, I mean, it sucks. Obviously, it's not, ideal, but in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't matter for me and my heart friends. That doesn't matter for them.
Yeah. I think about that a lot. This is so not on topic, and like I have no qualifications to be talking about this, but that's why I kind of don't understand. I mean, friendship's probably really different, but people who are like the distance broke them apart or something, I don't get that concept.
Oh, I know what you're saying, girl.
And so
Don't know
I'm
how much time we have.
like, like, oh, go ahead. See,
Mess with
like the thing is, I'm like, my friends are like, but you can't really speak on it because you've never been in love and you've never been in a relationship. But I'm like, yes, this is true. But also, like, maybe I'm delusional, maybe I'm like naive. For example, with my friends, like, if I didn't love them enough as friends, that distance would probably break us apart. Or like if I didn't want to make enough of an effort, you know?
But I think that distance isn't really it doesn't really have to be one of those make or break factors when you've already had that relationship established. I think that it can be difficult when it's starting off that way. I think that if you guys have had like that time in person together as well, because that is important as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And having that like strong foundation of a relationship, like or also, a lot of the time, I feel like with that distance kind of thing, a lot of the time, the things that can help, the relationships that do work out the most are when they know that there is a definite time where that distance will be closed off,
Yeah.
where that distance will be ending. Um, but it's different because I have always felt like that within like romantic relationships, but then with my friendships, like there is no designated date that I'll ever be door to door with my faithy girl again. But I'm not worried about that in the slightest. You know what I mean? So it's different things about that. I do in a relationship sense though, I do feel like that can be a big factor. But if you have that foundation and you have that, a lot of it obviously is trust.
Yeah.
A lot of it is knowing that person pretty deep to their core.
Yeah.
That's what I really feel like about the heart friend things as well. That's somebody that like
Mm.
is also a part of you.
Yeah. I was gonna say something like about the heart friend, kind of a deviated question, but do you think that's like, I mean, I'm guessing it's a little bit of both. I don't even know why I'm asking this question, but it's like, do you think you get to or have you felt that you kind of get to a point where like obviously you're not like this is my heart friend, but like do you think you get to a point where you're like, okay, like I can fully give in to this friend? Or is it more like it just just like happenstance and it just happens and then you're like, oh, I didn't realize that we got this close? Or is it more of a decision like you've gotten to know this person, okay, like I can let them in now more, if that makes sense?
I don't really In my experience, I would say that I don't really think that heart friends are a decision. I think that that is a natural phenomenon that's happening. I don't think it's something that you can even be fully aware of it while it's happening until it's like, I mean, maybe one day you wake up and you finally realize, like, oh my God, this is my person. I love her to death. But I don't really feel like that's something that you need to make a decision on. I feel like heart friends come into your life and it's not something that you have to question. It's not something that you really do have to think on like that. It's somebody that you can just be with freely without having these deeper questions in mind in terms of that relationship, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess like if you had to question it, then you would have your answer, right?
I
Of
think if you have to question it, then you have your answer.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like they're not as I'm asking because I feel like in the past, like sometimes I've had bad friends. And so
Yeah.
then moving on, I'm like, there was a period in my life where like I it's not that I didn't want to make friends or that I was closed off to people, but there would be like, a voice in my head being like, are you sure you want to open up? Last
Yeah.
did that, didn't go so well.
And I think those kind of thoughts in the back of your head, I think those are natural. I think those are the kind of not the restraints that we're talking about on the things that you have to question. I think those are having to deal with past relationships and anxiety with bad friends, that kind of situation. But I think that when you're thinking those kind of things, that's more of an internal sense. I think it takes more of like an external factor to actually question that friendship itself more than your relationship with yourself to then have these relationships with your girlfriends.
That's that's such a good point. I feel like, yeah. Have you ever had to like deal with that? Like ended up in some kind of like bad friendship where you really thought like this person was super close to you and then
Yeah.
like didn't work out? I don't know if like that's too personal.
No, 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 no. It's all good. Yeah. I'm a lover. I always have been. I'm a lover first and foremost. I am a hater, but I'm most importantly a lover. So I used to a lot when I was at a bit of a less emotionally mature level than I am these days at 21. I would go into these friendships, I would meet these people, and I always like I go in with the thought and with the intention of them being one of my closest friends. Like with them, I used to. Like I go in and I look for the positives. I look for I love this about her. I love this about him. I love this and I like how they do this and I like how this is expressed through these actions, this kind of situation. And so when you're only looking at the good on these people, when you're going into it like that, I'm not saying like be weary. I'm not saying point out like their flaws. But I think I did used to go into it with a little bit too much of an open heart with some of these relationships. And sometimes that can stab you in the back when you are in there for the right reasons just because you're in there with the right intentions, with the right reasons, with all the love in your heart doesn't mean that they are.
Yeah, agree.
And you can't really change that about someone.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of like a moral, like a pretty steadfast situation. So yeah, I have had those kind of things because I try to see the best in everybody and then some until, do you know what I mean? Like assume the best until you see the worst.
Yeah.
Um, I've worked on that. I definitely wouldn't say that I like now like assume the worst until I see the best or anything like that, but I've definitely learned how to manage that in a different in a different
Yeah.
way.
I
Yeah.
have like people who then like I know people who are the opposite way, it's like be wary of everybody. No one's your true friend.
Yeah.
Everyone's out to get you. And I'm like, that's no way to live.
That's such a sad way to live your life.
It's so, and it's like again, I keep using this word, but it must like be so exhausting. Aren't you exhausted of I don't even know. Obviously, I think I used to be more like you too, where like I used to just accept the best from everybody. I'm like, everyone is all sunshine and rainbows and bad people. There's some of them, but they're not around me. They could never
Yeah.
be around me.
Why would it happen to me? I'm so nice. Yes.
And so I feel like that obviously has dialed down, but it's not like I'm out here expecting everyone to like bite, like, stab me in the back. And
Yeah.
so I, again, if somebody says something off or does something off, then I'm like, oh, let me take a little note of that. But like, I'm not gonna be like, you
Little
are a
mental.
terrible person,
Yeah.
this terrible person. I should never hang out with them ever again. But yeah,
And everybody that you're going to come across in your life, even your heart friends, everybody's going to make mistakes. I think it also is it's difficult to learn, but once you do, it's such a good strategy to have.
yeah,
But when you're seeing these um issues that you're having with this, some of them are just every day that you're going to have, like it sucks, you're going to have these disagreements, but some are just like fundamental differences that you have to decide, am I okay with this? I love this person. Am I still okay with having these fundamental differences? That kind of
yeah, it's
thing.
important to be able to like make that distinction because I think I talked about this a little bit with my friend Marie Emily who was on the show. It didn't have to do with like values necessarily, but we were talking about like doing favors for other people and how we've like lost community because we don't do favors for each other, whatever. Like the word boundaries thrown a lot. And I think that you have to make a clear distinction between like this inconvenience or this minor little mistake that they've made in your eyes that can be like jumped over um and that you don't have to throw away a friendship because they had this one mistake or they like
Yeah.
got in an argument with you or you fought or whatever, but then like being able to, like you said, like, okay, like this is a value of mine that I will not budge on and I don't think I can continue with this. The point is I agree. um
Love it, love it.
But yeah, I think like what you said about how like everybody needed to, or yeah, you went into friendships thinking like this is going to be one of my closest friends. I think that I had that problem where like I felt like if they weren't one of my closest friends or my best friend, like they're not my friend in a way.
Mhm.
And it's like I must do everything with every single friend or else we're not true friends. And like I've grown up to realize that you have different friends from different things. And like it's okay to deviate from like I don't have wait, have you heard of I don't know if I mentioned this, but have you heard of like is it the six besties theory? Like somebody made this up. It was like the six bestie series or the seven bestie series where it's like you have what are the types? You have like your North Star best friend, which is like the friend that you do everything with, kind of like your heart friend that you were talking about.
Yes.
You have like,
Yes.
your OG best friend, which is like the friend that has known you since you were like a kid, like middle school, high school, whatever. Like they know your whole backstory, like they know your family, they know like all of that. And then you have like your good time friends, which is like those are the friends that you call up if you want to like go out, have like
Yeah.
a fun time and da da da. And then you have your what did they call it? Oh, your dead body bestie, which is like that person that you can come to with like when you've fucked up, like when you've done something bad and stuff, like you can tell them and you know that you'll get no judgment from them. And
Yeah.
then you have like what is it called? Oh, the seasonal bestie, which is like somebody that's like in the same season of life as you or like has the same aspirations as you. Does that make sense?
I know what you mean. And I've heard that before, and I've actually listened to a podcast on that before. I
Really?
like that. Yeah, I love that. I think also, um, I like that discussion about your different friends because I think that there's also some negative connotation behind like people in a way saying like you shouldn't like compartmentalize people in your life, more like you should have like more like steadfast relationships in that way. I really wouldn't classify it in that way. I wouldn't classify it as a negative thing. I think that coming to the realization that not every friend in your life has to be your best friend is a point of emotional maturity that you do hit in your like maybe in like late high school, maybe in your early 20s, that kind of situation. So I don't think, and I don't know. I've always heard of people like compartmentalizing like friendships, different people, whatever, as being such a negative thing. So I do really like that different analogy. I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And like it's not something that I think like you have to be like, oh, okay, like this is my friend for this, and this is my friend
No.
for that. Like
Yeah,
you're
we're not doing all
like,
that.
I think, yeah, exactly. What is it? Exhausting. That it's okay that, oh, just because I like don't do as many things with this friend, or like I don't do this kind of thing with this friend, like that makes us not friends. That's what I used to think when I was like obviously way younger. You know, like diversify your friendships. Like they don't all have to be the same. And like,
I wish I was told that at an earlier age,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
guess it's something that you just kind of have to figure out on your own.
And I feel like having that pushes you to do more things, if that makes sense. Because it's not like some things you're not going to do with some friends because I mean they're just not into it or whatever.
Yeah.
But like you can find communities of different people that you can do different things with and expand your life in that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, Lauren, is there anything, you know what, for old time's sake, is there anything that you want to rant about?
Ooh, I was thinking about this the other night. I was going out on a cutie little date over to ski shores, over by the water, having a good time, having some pina coladas, we're having a good time. We're getting in the zone. Every time I go over to ski shores, the pickleball court is always full. But this time, the pickleball court was open and made me think about this. And I wondered because almost every man will bring up the fact they'll say, pickleball's not a sport. Pickleball's too easy. Pickleball's not a sport, whatever. Who cares? It's so
Oh,
fun. You're out there, you're getting exercise, you're out in the sun. Who cares? Men want to make things that are so fun for us. They just like purposely want to go out of their way to make them not fun. You're not fun. So I would like to say, one, pickleball is a real sport.
agree.
Two, if you say that pickleball or similarly tennis is easy, you're just bad at it.
Oh my God, tennis is not easy.
It's only easy if you're bad at it.
Yeah. I did tennis for a couple of years and it was like I was terrible. I was
Yeah.
terrible. I wasn't moving fast enough. It would like it is not easy. I didn't like it. I've
I don't
played
know.
most
A
of
lot
this.
of a lot of people come out and they're like,
Really?
oh
I
yeah,
heard that
oh yeah.
people think tennis is oh. I mean,
I
I
think it's like
guess
a gym bro kind of assumption.
mm,
You know what I mean?
the gym bros that just go and do weights and then they never do cardio, so then they do cardio and they're like, "Ugh, this is
This
like
isn't even a real
oh."
sport. That yeah, those are the guys. Those are the guys. Yeah. And I'm like, no, actually it is. And the easy thing, if you're not pretty good. And also, I'll kick your ass with my hot pink cat pedal. So
Period.
yeah,
Period.
there
As
you go.
um, um, wait, have you heard of the guys that like they'll be like Pilates is so easy. Pilates is so easy, and then they'll go and do
They
Pilates,
like can't do it.
do it.
I'd like to see like any man that has ever like given me a hard time about tennis or pickleball just try even that one spin class that we did together that I almost died at. Guys, I saw the light.
They're worse here. They're so much harder.
I
And
don't even want to imagine that.
I've gone back to the back row because I'm like, this is
Oh,
embarrassing.
oh my God. Yeah, I thought that was gonna be my last day on Earth. I thought I was gonna die next to you. You're gonna be my last person.
And the way that she called you out was so funny.
Yeah, it's just funny is one way to put it. I'd say it's just plain wrong, but we can say funny. She had good intention. She had good. It was funny.
It's encouraging you. Lauren, is there anything that you want to add or say before we like wrap up?
I, man, I think we've hit a lot of solid points. I think that, oh my gosh, your episode with Mateo. I wish like we could do like maybe like a joint one. I feel like that would be so
A lot
wonderful.
of people have requested that I do like multiple people at a time.
I think you should do me, Mateo, Faith. I think that would be such an epic episode. I think it would jumpstart you to stardom. I think.
Absolutely. Shall we? We should do it for like the finale of this.
Girl, I'm there.
Okay, we could do it as like either the finale is like a bonus episode.
Ooh, love it, love it. So down.
Yeah, that'd be so fun. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Um,
It's so fun getting to chit chat with you, girl.
yeah. Okay. Thanks everyone for listening. And you can listen to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Again, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next one.